Well, this has been a long time coming. This is Steely Dan. I don't know how you pronounce it because this is 51 years ago. So when I was asked to look at Steely Dan, I knew them, but not every band that makes sense. So you can say, yeah, I've heard of them, and I've heard of Steely Dan. Doesn't mean I know them, and I don't. And I've read a little bit, and for me, this is going right back to the beginning, which I sometimes do. It may not be your choice that you ask me to look at, but I don't get a lot of links sent, or sometimes the link's not the right choice. So it's really sometimes difficult for me. So this is off Science Finds God channel. This is going right back to Can't Buy a Thrill, which is their first eponymous debut album, but based on something Bob Dylan had done, and the name of the band, William S. Burroughs. You need to read that. I'm not going to say what it is, even though I'm not averse to being an adult. It's quite adult, why they're called Steely Dan. Yeah, and it's quite funny, but also quite shocking at the time. So this is Steely Dan with Reelin in the Ears. I hope everyone enjoys it. I probably have heard it, but if I have, and I'm listening to it now, it's going to be 30, 40 years. Yeah. So, because I was 7. We'll get back to that, guys. Steely Dan, Reelin in the Ears live.
Something that you think is gonna last. Well, you wouldn't even know a diamond if you held it in your hand. The things you think are precious, I can't understand. Are you reeling in the years? Stowing away the time? Are you gathering up your tears? Have you had enough of mine? Are you reeling in the years? Stowing away the time? And all the time I've known you, I still don't know what you mean. The weekend in the college didn't turn out like you planned. The things that pass for knowledge I can't understand. Are you reeling in the years? Stowing away the time? Are you gathering up the tears? Have you had enough of mine? Are you reeling in the years? Stowing away the time?
You know, I was watching, I think, was it Rick Beato or Justin Hawkins? Definitely two of my favourite channels. And I think it was Justin Hawkins the other day who was talking about the 70s and, you know, how new rock is waiting for that new explosion. And I think he was going on the band called Dirty Honey. And he was kind of, because Justin Hawkins clearly knows what he's talking about. Very intensely educated around music. I suspect a lot of things. And I was listening to what he was talking about, the 70s, why we go back to that era. Why is it the creation of that era is the creation of a lot of great sounds? And this is just one of them. And it wasn't all great, by the way. You think about it. Things that are childhood memories and are fond that I still like, that I wouldn't disrespect, like the Partridge Family and David Cassidy and David Essex. My formative years were in the 70s. My musical formative years were late 70s into the 80s and beyond. But as a kid of 7, tell me if I'm wrong, guys, you would have been influenced by what you were hearing. And in my house with my dad, it was Sinatra and Matt Monroe and Lou Rawls and some country classics, you know. And my mom liked the Motown, and she liked dance music. And there was no Beatles. I don't remember the Beatles or Rolling Stones, none of that rock stuff. You know, it was all the classic stuff because my mom and dad came obviously from the 30s. Rest in peace, pair of them. But I've had this whole hodgepodge, this real melting pot of music, as all of us have. Even if you're born in the 80s, you've had this. 90s, you're going to have it. But I think the 70s are an extreme version of so many different artists that have stood the test of time. This is 50 years ago. And tell me this doesn't stand the test of time. You can say the same for bands like Yes, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, you know, even though they're not even formed, they're still. Then you go late 70s, ABBA. It's just a real era, isn't it, that 10 years? And this song, I can hear bits of Phil in it, the way the singer Palmer, I think, is going into the vocals, that talking, singing. But the music, the chord structure, the melody, and I'm not an expert, but it's so cool. It's got so complex, but make it sound simple. And the song itself is great, you know. You've been telling me you were a genius since you were 17, and all the time I've known you, I still don't know what you mean. And that is such a line about, and there's some angst in there about breaking up. Are you gathering up the tears? Have you had enough of mine? This is a breakup that didn't. It was painful. And it's a recollection of that, the things they shared and didn't share. And things when you look back and go, you weren't the genius you said you were. College wasn't what it was for you, it's going to be. Yeah. It's a great song with lyrics that are really pointed and almost philosophical. But I love the music, and I do remember them, but I don't remember everything. I know they sold 40 million albums. I know they were inducted 4 years after they were eligible to go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is really different. I know their music is part of Berklee College's and Esteem Musical College, you know, and I know some weird stuff, like one of the members of the band has become an expert on mobile missiles. The other one, the drummer, formed Toto. You've had Michael McDonald and Mark Knopfler involved around the sides, peripherals. Michael McDonald definitely. I think Mark Knopfler played on maybe one song or one album. You know, this is supreme. Bernard Purdie is some real super talent, and with all of that comes super difficulties. What I've read about the band, you know, and I'm not casting aspersions. It's not what I'm here to do. It's just the history of a band that sold 40 million albums. That this sounds so fresh to me. So fresh.
Things you think are useless, I can't understand. Are you reeling in the years? Stowing away the time? Are you gathering up the tears? Have you had enough of mine? Are you reeling in the years? Stowing away the time? Are you gathering up the tears? Have you had enough of mine?
It's like a turnaround at the end of a 12 bar. But it's so, I don't know what they're doing. Musicians tell me, I love this. Steely Dan reeling in the years. A brilliant flashback to when I was only 7, and I would have heard this but not even known, because it would have been on the radio. Radio was all you had. Yeah, radio was the outlet for music. There was some on TV, I just don't remember it. I would have been having Watch with Mother, you know, and Button Moon and things. But, oh wow, so good. Steely Dan fans, tell me where to go next. Maybe this first album isn't this. Maybe there's more tracks on this first album. Adja is, I think, an album that comes to mind. I don't know, tell me. But I really enjoyed it, guys. If you like it, just like it, guys. Yeah, I'm consistent. I put music out every week. So I'll be doing more Steely Dan. I know I will. Take care.